Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the August meeting to order. The first item on the agenda tonight is the July lease adjustments.
I'd like to make a motion to move our public comments down to item number 7 on the agenda.
Okay. We have a motion to move public comments down to item number 7. Is there a second? Or any discussion? Well, we actually need a second first.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Item number 1 is the leak adjustments review.
Yeah, I think everything's here. Angela's here. It looks like everything's in order.
Like everyone has their receipt. And I'll wait for payment.
Make a motion that we accept the adjustments as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the leak adjustment review as submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Second item on agenda tonight is the approval of the July minutes. Not sure if I can find those. Here we are.
We have them there.
They're on, I don't know, about 15 pages or so back,
Just passed all the papers.
just past the leak adjustments.
On this one, I can motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Next item up is financial reports for June.
Yeah, all the finances look good. You can see water revenues were a little bit lower, obviously, than they were in May when they're skyrocketed. They're still pretty normal. Everything looks good. Obviously, still waiting on the meter money. But for the most part, water and wastewater are actually improving as we go, so that's a good sign, even without the meter money. So obviously, the meter money will get us back where we want to be. But
Is there any reason why we're still waiting on the meter money?
we got great news today that Ryan Bowman with Friday Firm, our bond counsel, has been given the green light to start drafting those bond documents. We'll be bringing them to council in August, so moving forward. Other than that, there's nothing that really sticks out on the June financials, unless anyone had any questions on them.
Make a motion that we accept the financial statement as presented.
We have a motion to accept the June financial report as submitted. We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next item is old business. Nothing listed underneath it on the itinerary. Okay, no. Okay, next is new business. Let's do the public works.
Yeah, as you can see, I'm not Tim. So Tim is out this week, so it's me and I've got Ted here with me too. So before I introduce Chris Engineering, I wanted to let you guys know attached in your packets, we have a little bit of a, if you've looked at the executive summary or the master plan before tonight, there was a few numbers that were changed on the demands that we updated today. So you've got the right version in front of you. There was a little bit of a mishap on the calculation, but we've got it straightened out. And the capital improvement plan on the back page, which is of course probably the one that we'll focus on the most tonight, has not changed at all. So with that, I mean, we've been working really hard on the master plan. We think we've got it narrowed down. We're pretty excited that it's complete or near complete, so we're excited to share the draft with you guys. So I will let Trevor or Matt come on up and share the master plan with you guys.
Hello everyone, my name is Trevor Vogel and I'm with Chris Engineers. I was the primary engineer on this master plan report, and so I did all of the calculations and worked with the city to try and get everything resolved and figured out. So hopefully we have a brief kind of explanation about how we went about doing the master plan and how we ended up coming with the improvements, which is the capital plan for the future of Bryant. All right, so for the meeting agenda today, I'm going to start discussing the population and demand projections, how those were calculated, and then go into a little bit about the hydraulic modeling. So we use a modeling software in the computer that helps us basically create Bryant in software form and project the demands for the entire system and be able to plan for the future and see what's needed in future improvements in order to create the model in a way that it runs efficiently. Then we're going to look at a little bit of the water supply and the planning for the future of that, and go through the capital improvements plan, and then list out those key improvements in that capital improvements plan. So to start off, and this graph is located in the executive summary. To start off with this, right now Bryant has experienced some pretty large growth from about 1980 to now, and it's planned to kind of continue projecting along that same path. The updated plans, I believe in 2050, it's looking about 36,000 people. And so where the people go, so follows the water. Water typically follows based off of an average gallon per day usage of customers. And so with that, we're able to project average and maximum demands for the system based off of your population and the population projection. Right now we have it, average day demands currently are almost 2.0, about 1.9. With maximum day demands right about 3.1, and then in 2050 it's looking at around 6 million gallons a day for maximum demand, and then around 3.2, 3.3 for average day demand. And so you can see as it goes on in the future, again, you have to project for population growth, and that's what this maximum and average day demand is based off of.
Can we ask questions during your deal, or do we have to wait till the end?
Absolutely, go ahead and ask questions, Jerry.
1.9 daily, and you're saying a max of 3.1 million gallons?
Correct.
We've actually hit that number?
Yes, so you hit that number actually this year in January during the ice storm. You hit 3.1, 3.04 or something. But yes, you hit that during the ice storm.
Now, your average growth, starting in 1980 going to 2024, you're showing 44 years. That's an average of 444 persons per year average growth. You're projecting 540, that's an 18% increase over the history.
Correct. So over the history, so what I did is took Bryant's most recent 20 years of growth and broke that down again into the most recent 5 years, and then projected out that population percentage growth based on population percentage. So as it grows, as Bryant grows, you know, the number of populations they'll have kids expecting, and it will grow exponentially, very slightly, but in 1.5, I believe, is the percent that I fell on.
Do we have the ground to take these subdivisions that you're projecting? We're landlocked, Little Rock, Alexander, etc. Are we?
Most of that is subdivisions within Bryant, still expansion within Bryant itself. That is what it's projected at.
Okay, thank you.
And then let me interject really quickly too. We've got quite a few council members here. Thanks for coming, of course. During public comment, we'll ask if you guys have any questions or comments that you guys may come. That's why we move to public comment now. So, but yeah, you guys feel free to interject at any time.
Yes, absolutely. And then also these I corresponded these to the rate study, water rate study as well. My projected population increase corresponded to the most recent water rate study. So for water production data, this is a graph. I highlighted red and blue. Red are your summer months. That is where you typically will see maximum demand associated with shower usage, sprinklers, and then in the blue is the winter months. And you can see we do have some maximum demand spikes during winter months. Those are typically associated during ice storms. So we've had one for the past.
Is that because of like pipes bursting and stuff? I mean, I
No,
wouldn't
it's
think,
not. It's
I wouldn't think people would
so
use
this
more
is
water
actually
during a storm.
so this is actually taking into account both pipe bursting and for customer flow. But I'll show you in just a little bit. Metron showed that there was an actual increase in base demand, and that's due to people running their faucets. If you have a 0.25 small little bitty gallon leak, multiply that by your whole system, and you end up with a lot of water that's used. And it's usually for a very short period of time.
And people took the cost.
Yes.
Yeah, I did that a lot last year, after my first 2 years ago.
Absolutely, and so that just increases a lot of demand for that short period of time during the winter storm. So I talked a little bit about it earlier, we built a model. So what I did is I took Bryant's GIS system, and it has their diameters of pipes, their tank locations, and their meter locations, and put that over a model and projected that out throughout the system. And then I also took the meter demands, so Metron meter demands from each individual meter, and attributed the individual demand to the individual meter, and took an average over the year for the average demand, and then took the max week and max day demands individually for those individual customers. So it's a very individualized model. It shows exactly what a customer used in Bryant, exactly, and that was all attributed strictly to being able to look at that 1 minute data through Metron. So I was able to use that data, project it out. So the model matched 100% of Bryant's system in that case. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, the daily demand patterns. It's kind of hard to see the blue and the red. On the top left-hand side, this is throughout the day, 24 hours, starting at midnight and going to midnight, the hourly demand pattern that your system sees. And so on the max day for both winter and summer, it's shown on the top left, and then on the lower right, it's an average day. Typically during average day, you see the only difference is really sprinklers and a little bit more shower usage in the morning and evening between summer and winter. But then in max day, you can see how much more people were, and again, this is Metron data, this does not include main breaks in this data right here. You can see the customers are using quite a bit more water just throughout the day, and that's running their faucets full time to be able to rid those leaks. So that's what you're asking about earlier as far as that goes. And so this data was used again to develop your diurnal or daily demand patterns for each of the customers, and that was included in the model as well. Overall result, you got a hydraulic model, and it attributed the city of Bryant and all the water infrastructure that Bryant had, and was able to run scenarios based upon the current and future expected maximum day demands, and through that, it developed improvements that are needed to provide resiliency, provide fire flow, and to be able to connect the system and allow it to transfer water efficiently. So with the water supply discussion, just a little bit about it. Current max day demands are 3.1 million gallons per day. Projected 2050 max day demands are 6.1 million gallons per day. The current CAW allocation is 4.0 million gallons per day, and then the future minimum allotment by Saline Regional is going to be 2.0. The reason I want to bring that up is because both of them, or more than just CAW, will be needed to provide you water for 2050. And so that's what I was looking at whenever I looked at the model, was how do I best use both of the possible, or the potential source for Saline Regional and CAW source to balance the system and to be able to provide Bryant that water.
Now, if we go to the Saline Regional supply,
Yes.
we won't have any CEW.
That is incorrect. You will.
Yeah. So by the way that it's mapped out here, our current CAW allocation is 4, and then our minimum take that we have to have from Saline Regional that we signed in the contracts is 2 MGD. So our plan is at least be taking the 2 from Saline Regional, of course, and then whatever remains in between there, we'll still be taking from CAW, which will probably be, I think our minimum with CAW right now is what, 2 or 1.3?
1.8.
Yeah, 1.8. So we should actually be able to keep our current contract. Of course, we'll have to discuss it with CAW. I can't say that for certain, but we'll probably keep our same allotment with CAW and also Saline Regional.
And the primary reason for this, wanting to use both Saline Regional and CAW, was the fact that the system is already set up to take in CAW water. All of the large water lines are really designed between that pump station and the tanks. And so whenever you bring upon Saline Regional, wherever it enters into the system, improvements will need to be made to take that water from its location to those tanks. And so CAW would provide you the ability to take in some water from Saline Regional and then delay those improvements on into the future so that they're not major impacts in the front end.
Yeah, there's no solid plan in place as of right now between Saline Regional and CAW and how much we'll take from each, but it's good to know that we have the option and probably the need to take from both.
And I might interject, I think we've made a point to talk about the importance of it, redundant feeds from each one. Having the ability to bring water from one or the other, or both, and that's a solid plan to have in case you lose the supply from one or the other, you got the other one to back up.
Yeah, I understand redundancy, but if we're gonna spend all this money to get this water out of the Ouachita River, and that part of that is to get rid of CAW, to not be on the hook for them, because we don't know we can't control our own destiny. And why are we gonna spend all this money and still get the bulk of our water from CAW?
Well, I don't think we're saying we're going to get the bulk of the water. One of those is
No,
a maximum.
that's pretty easy. That's twice as much water from CAW.
CAW is the
That's a
maximum.
maximum
It's the
amount.
maximum allocation.
The other
So,
one is a minimum amount.
correct. And the main reason I brought the CAW allocation at the maximum and not the minimum is to show you that even if CAW was where you stayed at, you will, by 2050, no longer be able to provide water solely from CAW anyway. For Saline Regional,
Contract negotiation.
correct. For Saline Regional, the goal is to, once you build out the infrastructure, in the way that the infrastructure is designed, you can get the full, all of Bryant's water from Saline Regional, but it will require extensive infrastructure that's noted in the master plan, CIP. And so it's really delaying some of those major improvements so that you can be able to plan and pay for those in the time that they need them, while still using CAW in the time being.
Yeah, that's also why the water supply, it's not set in stone where we're going to get our water from. We're going to go with whatever contract is the best deal for the citizens of Bryant, right? Whatever way is cheaper to get water from, whether it's a full allocation from Saline Regional, whether it's part of an allocation from CAW, you know. CAW we can't keep a contract with CAW and expect them to just keep dry lines in the ground and then just pull from them whenever we need to. So there's going to have to be some give or take, but it's going to work out the best way, we're going to make sure that it's the cheapest way possible. So that's why it's not set in stone, but we've got, you know, we made sure that it was in there so that we know all of our options and we know that we have plenty of room to be redundant, plenty of room to work with either of them.
And I believe you provided the master plan to them, correct?
To
the...
yes, yeah.
So within the master plan, I did write different scenarios for individual CAW, individual Saline Regional, and for a combined fee, in towards the, I think it's the middle of the report. And so if you want to read that as well, you can kind of give you a little bit more detail about the maximum you can provide currently and what would be required in order to meet those 1 million gallons per day demands for each of those.
Yeah, we were very specific in not putting any, we don't have any capacity improvements that we need on the CAW side or on the Saline Regional side right now within the next 5 years. So when we do our rate study, when we broke down the capital improvement plan on that last page, the near-term improvements, mid-term, long-term, we were very adamant in not putting anything in the near-term improvements that would, you know, set us up for Saline Regional or the CAW take, whatever we may choose, so that we're not including it in the rate study. So that part of the capital improvement plan is not included. All of the near-term improvements are for, you know, fire flow, system redundancy, resiliency, water quality, things like that. So there's no real quantity or, I guess, supply in the near-term improvements.
And so that resulted in the capital improvements plan, broken down in the near, mid, and long term. This is provided for you on paper. I'm not going to go through each one of these. What I am going to do is break down really the key major process or the major improvements of each of these and why they're important. Some of them on the lower end, you can see are either noted as efficiency or resiliency. That typically means fire flow or some sort of area that may have a main break that does not have any looping in the system, and so if there's a main break, those customers would be without water. So for the near-term improvement 0 to 10-year goals, The number one goal is to remove the south pressure zone in its entirety with the installation of a new 1.5 million gallon elevated storage tank. So it's going to be installed to the north pressure zone, same pressure zone as this. Right now, as it speaks, as you are, the tank by the school is set lower than the rest of the tanks in the system. So the goal would be to remove that tank from the system and to install a tank near that at a higher pressure gradient. So what that provides is currently there are some issues with pressure in the south pressure zone. Customers are having pressure issues, as well as the school down there is having some pressure issues. If both feeds aren't live to the school, there have been noted low water pressures in that area, and that was indicated in the model as well. So bringing it up to that pressure zone, it doesn't cause any issues as far as pressures in that system. Some of the current elevations for the meters in Bryant now on the north pressure side are the same as those on the south pressure side. It was just developed in the past to kind of control the pressure a little bit. It's still keeping pressure well below what the pipes can handle. So there should be no issues as far as pressures go. North pressure zone already sees some of those. And then in addition to that, there are projects that are needed to improve customer water reliability, increase fire flow to deficient areas, and improve water quality. Those are more of those 3, 4, 5 line items in that near-term master plan.
Do you have a map showing where the fire deficiencies are?
I do. It is actually provided in the master plan as well. And so
I haven't seen it yet. I'm just
yes, there is. And so the objective would be to build this 1.5 million gallon tank just north of the high school. And what it would do is it would be able to provide Bryant with one single pressure zone, so all of the water could interflow between Bryant, and it would also provide resiliency for that system in that aspect, and for the school, giving them more water, giving them higher pressure. So, and this is the midterm improvements that were discussed. So really the goal of the midterm improvements are to look at Saline Regional. What needs to be done to connect wherever you're connecting Saline Regional to that main tank, your main tank on Highway 5. And so that project is the primary goal of that. Right now, you could pull, and I say the master plan, and don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's around 3 to 3.5 million gallons from wherever you take it right now in your system. Before it starts causing pressure issues, there's just not enough large lines between where we plan on connecting in the possible locations for Saline Regional and that tank. There's not enough line size to be able to flow between those. And so I looked at 2 separate areas based on the preliminary investigation of Saline Regional for potential tank sites and potential line sites to connect to Bryant. And so this is each of those 2 potential connection sites. You can see it would require an 18-inch line either from near the north tank, that's one of the locations, or just north of Highway 5, that's another potential location. So main goal of that is to get it from wherever you're connecting to the center of Bryant so that it can be distributed throughout the system. And then, so for long-term improvements, 20-plus year goals. It's going to be installed as necessary improvements to better interconnect Bryant itself as a system, and that's going to be able to project it into the 6.0 plus million gallons. And so all it's doing is allowing water to flow more smoothly and equally throughout the system. And then again, there's also projects that have to do with fire flow and reliability. So this transmission line interconnect, this is both. So it's really from the main goal is to go from the north tank to the new south tank that's going to be installed, or that is proposed to be installed. So the first line is going to be to connect the the Highway 5 tank to the interstate. There's already a large 12-inch line there, and to be able to build up that system, it would connect directly into that, into the tank. And then again, you're going from that connection point to the south tank. And so really your goal again is to get these 2 tanks to float together, to be able to deal with the whole system together instead of both of them being separated more so hydraulically. And so with that, I'll leave it to any more questions you guys have on any of it.
So on your, you've given a couple potential Saline Regional hookup sites, correct?
Yes, sir.
And one shows to be on the very far north side of town, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then the other one is kind of midtown, parallel to Highway 5 and Interstate 30.
That is correct. And again, these sites are based upon the most recent Saline regional projections. I'm not saying that is exactly where the site will be, but based upon where the tanks are being projected to be built now, that is our best guess at where
Okay.
we'll be able to connect.
But you're saying you'd like to tear down the tank in front of the high school
That is correct.
and replace it there or somewhere close?
Yes, that is correct.
The tank needs to be 60 foot tall.
There's no benefit to keeping that tank for any other reason?
But we're putting in here that we need more storage for fire. Would that not be,
It would be submerged.
It would be completely submerged. So the storage for your tanks is dependent upon the elevation of customers receiving water. And so if you bring all of the system together, then your highest customer really drives the total storage calculations for the system. You got to be able to provide that 1%.
so I don't see elevation, but it looks, I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, the northern side of town would be the higher elevation than Highway 5, correct?
That is correct.
But you don't mark any elevation on the two drawings.
I think it's 6
That is correct. It is 609. 609 and 541 are your two different elevations. So 541 is your current south pressure zone, and 609 is your current north pressure zone.
Okay, so if you okay, so with CAW, we're at 541 locked in, right? Because we're not going to pump that water to the 609.
That is incorrect. You pump it directly into the 609 now.
Okay,
Right now, the south pressure zone is only really south of the train tracks. That is the only area that south tank actually serves.
okay. So we're south of the train tracks here, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing about the master plan too is that the last master plan was done in 2008. So when we started this master plan, we really wanted to go through the near-term, long-term, and mid-term improvements that were listed in the 2008 master plan, which the South Plain tank was one of them that was listed in the 2008, and make sure that we're keeping up with our system and keeping it as resilient and redundant as possible. So a lot of work has especially gone into the near-term improvements. Again, like I said, when we talk about the rate study and things like that, those are the numbers that we take and ensure that we can complete through the rates. So this is kind of what they pay attention to.
What's the elevation of the tank on Highway 5?
It's also at 609. And what we measure is the top of its overflow, so that's the static pressure throughout the system.
Okay.
So these are proposed line areas, they're not set in stone, I guess.
They are not,
Are they
correct.
following assessment, easements that we have already?
They are not. So really, the proposed lines is it's going to change. It's a concept level. The concept is you need a line of approximately this size and approximately this location. You know, moving it streets over isn't going to impact the hydraulics. It's really saying you need a larger line in this area. This is the size it needs to be, and this is generally the direction it needs to flow.
Shortest distance possible.
Correct.
So where we can get easements and access.
So we are going to have to probably purchase some easements to take care of this, okay?
I believe one of your possible routings was down the Parkway too, is that correct?
Yeah, I
Yes.
saw
So-
that, I thought
And
that.
we already own those already.
Is there any decision where the potential water treatment plant will be from Saline?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We're getting close, we're scoping out sites. I should say we, yeah. Do we have a water treatment plant site yet for Saline Regional?
We met with the landowner today.
And that's what
Turns out that's a little difficult to do.
It's not Benton, is it?
There is not one right now. But we've met with, Dickie and I met with half a dozen. Still meeting with them. So that's a little bit fluid right now, to say the least.
Yeah, that's all in discussion, but right now, I mean, the main one, the number one on the system improvements that we talk about is the 1.5 million gallon tank and making sure that we're, getting adequate pressure. We know that we have pressure problems at the school. We know that we, have redundancy problems around there. So The tank is really our number one focus right now, and it has been for a while. We also we are on the priority list for the state revolving funds for the South Plain project. We had already applied for that, and we didn't get funding. We didn't ever file the application to move forward with the funding, but we have all the necessary steps. So the second that we file the application, we'll probably be able to get funding as well for that. So we're trying to be as proactive instead of reactive as we can be, and this is the best way we know how. So.
Will the newer tank that is proposed to be put in, because of the pressure issues,
Yes.
will that will increase pressure?
Yes,
but
it will.
It will be regulated. I'm thinking of the old town part of Bryant, the older lines that have been there for many years. I wonder if that's going to create any sort of a problem within the city.
So not necessarily with the lines themselves, all of the lines can handle the pressures. It's roughly 120 PSI that's expected, and so that's well within, typically lines are sized for about 165 PSI, so it's well under the working pressure of the pipes. What would have to be adjusted or accounted for is some of those older homes, we would have to verify that they do have regulators on their individual customer sides, because that could cause a problem if not.
But the water lines themselves should be
The
able
water
to
lines
take care
themselves
of it.
should be able
Okay.
to handle it, that's correct.
What kind of contract? Are we locked into Woodland Hills until 2050?
Right now, our contract with Woodland Hills expires in 2025, but they are our partners in Saline Regional as well.
Okay.
So, we actually only provide, there's like 3 subdivisions, we only provide water through, obviously we get it from CAW and then through to them, to one of those 3 subdivisions. So when Saline Regional happens, the plan is that we'll water to them to all, and we'll be their only source, but that's also in discussion as well. But yeah, it expires in 2025 and then and they're still our partners in Saline Regional, so we'll relook at it.
Are we gonna be able to, the time frame for tearing down a tank and replacing it, are we gonna be able to handle the flow at that time? Or are you gonna do it at a particular time of year where there's less flow? What?
Well, you'll build the tank first, of course, and then there'll be just a matter of doing the cut over to it. But there'll be other work involved as far as the transmission lines and those. We're already in the process of trying to negotiate for the property for the tank.
Okay.
And there's that tank site, the proposed tank site.
It's on Sullivan and,
Right, it's
right
right
where
where it's Sullivan, right at the entry of the high school.
Has that land been purchased yet, or it's been?
No, but like I said, we're in discussion with the schools and the school board about potentially acquiring that site.
Oh, the school board owns that land?
Well, it belongs to the school.
Oh, I didn't realize that, okay.
Any other questions on any part of that, the capital improvement plan on the last page? Again, we're taking the master plan to council, hopefully in August, for asking them to adopt it as, our blueprint, our water system blueprint. This is pretty much what we're going to follow.
So with this master plan, what kind of money are we talking about?
I can't, that'll all have to come through the rate study. We're going to discuss different funding avenues for each of the near-term improvements. Probably the midterm improvements, we won't get to since those are 5 to 10 years. So we'll especially focus on the near-term improvements, 0 to 5. And like I said, the state revolving funds will probably be our best option for 1 and 2 as a project. And then the other ones, we're going to sit down tomorrow and kind of prioritize budget years and budget it in as we can.
So a Bryant resident water bill is looking at taking a hit for these improvements, and also taking a hit for Saline water improvements when they come down the road.
No, so this rate study will only take into account the 0 to 5 year improvements, which do not include any improvements for Saline Regional or for CAW. So the Saline Regional connections and any possible CAW connection, anything improving that our connections don't take place until midterm or long-term planning.
So
by the time we do another rate study, we'll probably already be well, I guess not another rate study, but by the time we get to that point, we'll have another master plan. We'll be in a much better spot on knowing how much we're taking from which one, and we'll know what the projections
And the
are.
state requires rate studies how often?
Or by ordinance, we're every 3 years.
Every 3 years?
Yeah, but Act 605 is every 5. So every 3 years, we'll be doing a rate study, and again, we'll adjust this as we go, in the next, we're doing it right now. In 3 years, when we go to do a rate study, we'll have to reevaluate the near-term improvements.
So we haven't put any numbers on any of these yet?
No, sir, no. It has to be, I guess, I don't know if it has to be, but we're going to ask that it be adopted by council before we give it to the rate study people, so that we know that these are the projects, and we're not just pulling a number out of a hat with no real projects or estimates in mind. So we want to make sure that we're being, again, proactive instead of reactive. So these are the projects we know that we need to get done, so these are the ones that we really should be including in the rate study to determine the rates.
And the near-term improvements are from 0 to 5 years out, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was kind of number 4 and 5. Bryce is going to give you a review of the sanitary survey, which is also in the packet.
If y'all look at the back of that sanitary survey that provided, there's actually a water flow schematic for the city with all the elevations from the bank and everything on it.
Where's it hiding at? Where's it hiding at?
It's at the back of the sanitary survey that I provided, back next left page.
Let's go after the big master plan.
After all the big things.
The sheet right there.
Next one, the one in front of that.
In front of that.
Should be a schematic.
Oh, it's up there. Okay.
Somebody
That's got all the elevations.
Somebody
You
show
got
me.
something for me?
No, no, no.
So,
It's not here.
I hadn't seen that.
Okay, ding, ding, ding.
Go ahead, don't let me hold you up.
alrighty, so we had our sanitary survey in June. Y'all don't know what that is. That's basically our audit from the state about how our system's doing. They check our record keeping, they check the condition of our system, our staffing, make sure everything's adequate. We get one every 6 years. Our last one was 2018. So they give us this report about how everything's going. We had no major deficiencies. We had several little minor deficiencies. We had some screening on some of the tanks that they want to replace. And some housekeeping stuff up at the north tank that just wear and tear. A few little minor things. They recommend that on our next tank cleaning that we get these repaired. But they're pleased with our staffing. They're pleased with how all of our chemical feeding's going. They're pleased with our record keeping. They really didn't have any issues. I thought I should come here and provide y'all with the sanitary survey. Answer any questions if you have any.
When you say they, who are you referring
The
to?
state, the health department.
I just want to blame.
I'm sorry. So, they came and conducted it, like I said, it's on the 26th of June, and, it took about half a day. Had an engineer from the health department here. We went to all 3 tanks, the booster station, the vault that we received water from CAW from. We sampled chlorine at 2 sites around the city. We sat in my office for half a day going through records, and they wrote us this report. They had no recommendations. They said everything was great. So I figured I'd bring some good news to them.
Did you say every 6 years?
Every 6 years. Every 6 years, according to the health department.
Right.
So they're about every 6 years. Any questions? Any?
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Number 7 under new business is the water survey.
Yeah, you'll see the water survey here. We ask everyone to pass it out, put it everywhere you can, annoy your friends, annoy your neighbors, your family, make everyone fill it out. This is really going to be crucial in our rate study process. We really need input from citizens and customers, what they want to see in our upcoming rate study. So anyone that you can get to fill it out, we'd really appreciate it. We're definitely looking for responses.
Do we have any because I know from what I hear from other people, that a lot of them don't even read the water bill information. Do we have any yard sign stuff or anything large enough for people to see? Okay.
Yeah, there's
And
yard
they
signs
put out-
scattered around the city as well,
Okay.
I
yeah.
think there's one out front.
Yeah,
I noticed it.
And it's posted in the water bill now.
Yeah, will this be included with the water bill that you get, the letter that comes from?
Yes.
Or was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I usually read that, but I don't remember seeing it.
And then when the customers come into the front office, I have the girl to ask them to scan it and do the survey also as well.
Okay. Any discussion or anything on that? Okay, now we've moved public comments after the new business. Does anyone have any public comments?
Yes, any comments from council on the water master plan? Any questions, concerns? Ask you.
No? Okay, okay, under the next item is projects, Saline Regional update.
Yeah, we kind of already gave this,
Kind of already done.
yeah, kind of already covered it. Again, just looking at property sites and working forward, that really not a ton to update yet. So moving forward.
Okay, is there any other business before we adjourn?
If you guys have any questions about the master plan, please reach out to any of us, to Bryce, myself, Ted, and of course, when he gets back. So we really want to answer any questions that we can and put them on the books. Wastewater master plan, we are hoping to bring to you by, I'll say by October. So that one could be a little bit more in depth. So we'll touch base back on that one. But hopefully October we'll bring the wastewater master plan to you guys. So yeah, we'll look out for that filling master plan.
We can take a non-council public comment.
Public.
I wanted to thank you guys as a citizen of Bryant for what you do. I ran a water and wastewater facility here in Arkansas, and I know how hard it is and how often you get thanked, which is very rarely.
Today will be the first.
And the same thing to our employees that work for the city. And I just want to encourage you as you wrestle with these issues, because in El Dorado, our problems were the opposite of what you have. We didn't have enough customers. We were having to shut down tanks. Just real serious problems without any way to pay for it. So you may not think this is much fun, but this is a whole lot better than the other side. So thank you again for what you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
One more comment that the mayor just reminded me of. If you guys feel comfortable, I think we are going to request for you guys to give your recommendation to council, since we are going to be bringing it this month. If you feel comfortable making a recommendation to either, adopt or table it, whatever you guys want to do, recommend that we do that, so we get that on the books.
So that it can go to the city council
Yeah, with a recommendation. It's going to, we just want a recommendation from you
to,
guys.
for the city council to accept it or reject it, that's what we.
Yeah, to adopt it. We'll be bringing an ordinance for them to adopt it.
I would like more time to study it. There's a whole lot of paper there. In a 15-minute overview, in 5-10 questions, I'd like a chance to spend more time on it.
Would you be open to a workshop then, in between now and council?
I got no problem with that.
When is the council meeting?
I'm sorry,
When is the council meeting?
27th?
27.
I'm good with that.
I mean, if you ask me, if there was a motion and a second and a vote, I'd say no, because I haven't reviewed it. I mean, that's a lot of information to chew up in 35 minutes.
Yeah, we can hold a workshop. We'll get together, figure out a date that works for everyone. If everyone give me some dates, we'll get a workshop put together.
Will it be daytime, nighttime, or you just have to button
Whatever you guys want, yeah.
So I guess I make a motion that we table this till the workshop and then vote on whether to send it to council or not.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I don't think you can vote in a workshop.
But we can vote to not do this now, right?
Yeah, but you can't send it to, in a workshop, you couldn't send it to council with a recommendation from the workshop, I don't think. Can you? Can anyone know? I don't think you can.
And take action at a workshop.
Can't take action at a workshop.
Could we call a special meeting at the workshop and then take action?
You'd have to give public notice of a meeting. So if you wanted to do a special meeting instead of a workshop, so you could take action.
So just call it a special meeting and give notice rather than workshop. Okay.
Is there anything that we can provide to you, or you just want time to look it over?
No, I just want time to look that over.
Okay.
I mean, we're adopting something that's gonna change this city for the next 30 years. I think we need to spend more than 35 minutes.
Okay, I'll get together with you guys and find a date for a special meeting, then we'll call it.
Okay.
All right, 27th.
So do you need to revise your motion?
So I guess I make a motion that we have a secondary meeting this month of the water, of our committee, so we could review this to send it to council.
And take action at that time. All right, my second.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? No? Motion passes. Okay, I think that's it. Is someone gonna make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.